never eaten in there, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, everybody says it's like a hidden gem and it's like the best place ever. I'm really close to it. I've never tried it.
Yeah, the one time I went there, it was really busy, but I picked up pizza from there. It was very good,
Yeah.
but still not as good as Trans Canada Brewery. So,
Okay.
yeah. So we click on it and we look at the point of interest. We get our LI, but you can also see the target that I clicked on. I didn't click on the LI itself. I ended up clicking on something inside the LI, and I don't really care about the address as much as I care about this LI. So we're able to get that LI using closest, because even though we clicked on this in inner street address. If I click on the kilometer, same thing, right? I get the distance. But again, that's just e.target. I don't really care about that. I just want to get rid of that. I really care about this because this is where the data is, okay? So I'm saving that piece. Saving it. I'm storing it in a variable. You don't technically need to. You can just call e.target.closest again a second time, but right, I could have put e.target.closest here and then used it again here, but I don't really want to do that. Okay, so we've demonstrated that we can, I'm going to leave that in here so we can always make sure that this is working for now. Before I save it and call it a day, right? Before I commit my code, I'm going to take out my console.logs. Okay, you don't want to commit a bunch of console.logs. Console.logs are generally for you, the developer, okay? For debugging, for logging stuff to the console. They are never for the person, the user using the browser. So you typically would want to take those out. Now, last piece. I want to drop a new pin on the map for that location, okay? So let's take a quick look at what our pin or our marker code looks like and try to figure it out and see how we can drop a new pin on this map, okay? So I'm gonna make a little bit of space here so we can zoom in a little bit, okay? So this is our initial code that got our current location, our home latitude, our home longitude, okay? Created a map, created a pop-up, then added a marker, okay? Now, let's look at this marker piece here, down here, lines 27 to 31, and let's investigate that a little bit, okay? So we're making a new marker, giving it the word marker, or assigning it to the variable marker. We're setting a longitude and latitude. We are setting a pop-up, which is this pop-up, okay? That part is not critical to placing a marker. The pop-up is the word that comes above the marker, okay? So we had figured out how to set that. Then we add to map. What is map in this case? Who could tell me what map is?
Map is the map you create.
Instance?
Yes, map is this instance here of a new map. So technically, if I had access to this map, I can add more markers to it, right? This is just one marker. And then I get back an instance of this marker because there are things that I may want to do to this marker after that I could do this, okay? To be perfectly clear, I do not need to assign marker to a variable. I can simply create a new marker and add it to the map. The problem is, if I do that, I do not have access to this marker after. And I do want access to this marker because I'm going to want to do something like this. I think it's this. I'm going to have to double check. Okay. If I don't have access to this marker in the form of a variable or some other method in some other way, I can't remove it, right? If I did this and I didn't assign this new map instance, this new marker instance to a variable, the marker would show up, everything would continue to work, However, I would never be able to remove it because I would not have stored it in a variable. Okay, so I can't access it again after, and that'd be pretty shitty. So same thing with this map. If I don't store this map in a variable, I cannot add a marker to it. Okay, so that's why I'm storing these instances in variables. Okay, so having said that, one of the challenges right now looking at my code is that I already have a map. And I don't think I want to go create a new map, at least in my opinion. Did anyone go ahead and create a new map? No, I wouldn't create a new map. Instead, what I would do is I would use this existing map. I would remove this marker and I would add a new marker. That's what I would do. Okay, I don't, and part of the requirements was not remove old markers. So that's fine. If you didn't remove the marker, that's fine. Okay, but that's personally what I would do. If you start clicking around, it would move. What I want to give the impression for the user is that I'm moving the marker. That's the kind of impression I want to get. And to give that impression, I think what I would do is I'd remove the marker and I'd place a new marker and then I'd move the map. And so it feels like I'm just moving the marker around, but I'm not really, right? So the challenge though is these constants, these variables are being declared within this function, which limits their scope, right? So I cannot see those variables out here. And I want to add, and I'm way down here. This can definitely not see those variables, right? Inside this function, I definitely cannot see the variables defined over here. So much in the spirit of what we did before, and definitely something that gets solved once we get to React, is declaring these as globals. Okay, some global variables, so everyone has access to them. This pop-up, we don't need to, the pop-up's fine. Okay, but the marker and the map. The reason why I want to do both the marker and the map is because I want to have access to the marker and the map. The pop-up, when I get rid of this marker, the pop-up should disappear. Okay, it should. We'll find out. Okay, so we're going to move these out to the outer scope. Okay, so we're going to adjust the scope of our variables. And it's not uncommon that you adjust the scope of your variables when necessary. What we want to typically do is we want to make access to our variables as restrictive as possible. So in this case, we declared our variables where we needed them and made them the most restrictive possible. But now we're identifying a need for us to make a modification. And so now we go ahead and we make that modification. Okay, so we modify when we need, but we typically go in with a very restrictive hand and try to make access to our variables as restrictive as possible. Okay. So we're going back here, we're going to say map, and we're going to say marker. Okay. Someone might look at this and say, hey, why don't you just do this? And that's fine too. Okay. That personally, that is not my style, but it's a style. Especially when you're declaring many variables but not assigning any of them, this works pretty well. Okay, so now I have access to the map. I have access to the marker. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to remove this marker. I think it's marker.remove. Okay, so let's take a look. See, so what should happen is if marker.remove is a function, and you know what, you can easily check whether or not this is a function by going to the API. Okay, and under user interface, there is a marker. And then under marker instance members, those are the methods. Add to remove, right? So removes a map, the marker from the map. Example, declare a new marker, marker.remove. So this should remove that marker from the map. So let's see if that works. Allow, and we'll go with okay, and we click on this. So clicking on this should only do one thing, two things: console logs, remove the marker from the map. Click, beautiful. And we proved to ourselves that the this pop-up also gets removed. So that's a good test. Okay. So now that pop-up also got removed. The map didn't change, but that's okay. So we're going to want to create a new marker. Okay, we know. So we're going to want to remove it and create a new one. Okay. The only difference is our latitude and longitude are going to be different this time. Okay, instead of using our home latitude and longitude, we're going to be using the latitude and longitude for this point of interest. And that is available on the element itself, right? Through the data set. So we have the data set through the data attributes. I believe it was long. Let's see, what do we call it? Long. And lat. Okay, so we're creating a new marker. We destroyed the old marker through line 60. We're creating a new marker and we're assigning that to the map. I'm going to get rid of this pop-up for now. So we're not going to do the pop-up just yet. We'll do the pop-up after. So let's see if we're able to pull those latitude and longitude from the data attributes, okay, and simply create and put a new marker on the map. Okay. So sushi N should be right here. Okay, pretty close. Okay, sushi I should be, so now when I click on a new marker, when I click on a new location, every time it removes the marker and adds a new marker. So just clicking on another location, remove, add, remove, add. So sushi I should be just up here. Okay, sushi goes and should be at the shopping center. Okay, so it's just moving around. Now, part number two, we could add back our pop-up, okay, except I don't want to add the previous pop-up. I don't even care to use the previous pop-up. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a brand new pop-up with different text. So I'm going to create a new pop-up, and this pop-up, I did not modify the variable. I didn't modify the scope of the variable, so it has already died by the time this function had run. Right, by the time line 26 had finished running, this variable has gone out of scope. So I don't need to worry about redeclaring it. It currently doesn't exist anyways in this scope. Okay, and even if I did redeclare it, it would be shadowing. Okay. So the text I want to put in here is going to be clicked element, query selector, and I'm going to want to go after this name. Okay, I am out here in this element area here. I want to go after this name, so I'm going to query selector dot name, and I'm going to grab the text content from inside dot name, which is going to be the location.text. And I'm going to put that in the pop-up, set the pop-up on the marker just like before, and toggle that pop-up so it'll automatically show. Okay, so we can refresh this. And sushi. Again, let's try that. And click element is not defined because it's clicked CLE. Save it. I did. Okay, good. There we go. Okay. And last but not least, we need some way to move around. Okay. How to recenter the map. Okay. So I gave you a little bit how to remove an existing marker and how to recenter a map. I sent you right to a little fly to a location. Using fly to smoothly interpolate between locations. So in this case, this is a very interesting example because I like this example because it challenges you to cut the fat. Okay, so if you looked at this example, there's a lot of stuff in here that you don't need. Okay, there's one piece that you do need. And that is this. So you might have looked in here and you might have seen, oh, I have to have this style. What is this style for? What is this block of style for here? Can anyone tell me? Look at this HTML.
Button?
It's for the.
Yeah, that's for this button. Is this button necessary?
No.
It's not necessary. So I
No, they're using it just to allow us to fly around. We click it and we fly around. We already have our own button, right? And that's these things. These things are our buttons. These things are our events. These are firing the action. The piece that you care about is this. Okay. Fly to. And if you look at fly to, okay, all fly to takes is a new center. What is going to be our new center? Just like our map took a center. Okay, our map took a latitude and a longitude. To center it, all we're doing is we're recentering the map. That's it. Okay, we're recentering the map. So I would hope that you maybe would have looked at this and then clicked on this and then click, 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 click. There we go. You go to this little fly to, probably could go to jump to as well. Changes the combination of center zoom without. So jump to is no animation. Fly to is an animation. Ease to would be an animation, but it's you have the ability to control the speed of the movement. Fly to, okay, changes the combination of center, zoom, bearing, and pitch, animating the transition along curve that evokes flight. So it feels like we're flying. Okay. And then you can see what sort of information it takes. And we are providing it latitude and longitude. Okay. So we are going to grab this latitude and longitude, the same latitude and longitude that we use to set the marker, and we're simply going to fly to that area. And I'm keeping this in because it says this animation is considered essential with respect to the prefers reduced motion. I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty important. Essential, true. We'll probably remove it. And then essentially all we end up with is an array, center, and then the location. So now, when we try this one more time, where's that? Hero Sushi in Sage Creek. Oh, in Sage Creek, okay. Okay, and we're able to fly around. Cool, hey? Recentering the map. And it looks like the map keeps its zoom level. Okay, because I'm reusing this map, I'm assuming it's gonna keep the zoom level. So if I had a stronger zoom, okay, which would be really crazy anyways, and then I switch this, should go back to the same zoom level. Yeah. All right. So there you have it. There is our final product. A map with locations that we can pick from. We can click on and readjust and zoom around. And
John,
hi.
in the marker part,
Yeah.
if we recall the method set longitude and latitude,
Yeah.
if we recall that method, it will remove the marker automatically.
If we, so I don't need, okay, so what you're saying, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Or does it make sense? So you're saying if I don't need this? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and that's it? Let me just change this zoom location here. So what do I have to do to get this one to be removed?
You don't need to create a new one, just marker dot set latitude.
Oh, okay. So this, I would just need this. Right, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because it already exists, right? I don't need to create a new one. Yeah. Of course not. Because remember, these are being used on a new instance already. So if I can always use the existing instance and just, so this is a literal move. I'm literally moving it. Do I have to remove the pop-up now? No, I could just take, this will be interesting. Let's try this, see what happens with this pop-up. I'm assuming that pop-up's gonna move with it. We're gonna have to, so it wasn't here. Whoops, it was down here. Okay. Oh, cool, the pop-up got replaced. It looks like it, or perhaps it's now being layered. There might be multiple layers of pop-ups below this. You could probably argue the same thing about the pop-up, that if I did this and then did this, rescope this pop-up variable, that I don't need to declare a new pop-up. I can simply update the text of the pop-up. And then I wouldn't even need to set it anymore or toggle it. It should automatically be, I don't know about this. We'll find out. It should automatically change just the text content of that pop-up, which has already been added. I'm curious to see if this works. Interesting. Okay, so I would need to set it again. That's surprising. Okay, but that should work. So you're right, that's actually the better way to do it. So we didn't create new instances because we didn't need to. We already had access to the existing marker instance, just like we had access to the existing map. We didn't create a new map because we had a map. We didn't create a new marker because we have a marker, okay? We didn't even create a new pop-up because we have a pop-up. So that's this little update that I made here. Okay, we already had a pop-up, so we'll just use it. We already have a marker, so we'll just use it. We're calling the same functions on it, okay, because those belong to the instance object anyways. These are being called on the instance object. This line is an instance object. This creates an instance object. These get applied to that instance object. Okay. All right. Questions? Any other questions, comments? Good catch, by the way. Okay, so I don't think we're going to do any maps for the final project. I had said we were going to, but I couldn't find anything that was super interesting, and I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, and I could put a map in there, but I already feel like it's enough work. So I hope at least you feel like you were exposed to some stuff and something interesting. And if whether or not you fully get it, maybe you can appreciate the level of difficulty or the level of scope that you have when building and controlling these maps. Okay, because that's always pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. So let's stop for that. We're at 9:30, which gives me about enough time to review our Gulp stuff, and then go over the assignment, and then you're free to go.
So will you post the solutions?
Yeah, I'll post the solution. I'll post it right now. Just the JavaScript for now. And then we'll take a look at the other thing. Just the JavaScript. I should start using CodePen. That way I can provide everything. I find that pretty interesting. The new website that they're moving me to doesn't have syntax highlighting. So I can't like just post solutions in it, unfortunately. One day they're going to have that. Probably by the time summer rolls around, we'll be in a new website. There's a giant hole in here somewhere. There we go. Okay. Oh, I left some comments. You know you're not supposed to do that, right? No, sorry. You can leave comments. What am I talking about? You can leave comments in your code. That's totally fine. Leaving comments in your code. Don't leave console logs. I removed that, so that's fine. Okay, good. So, share my screen again. So we're going back over here. Now we're going to tools and automation. So we're looking at more Gulp plugins. And I gave you a sample project. I say, add these things. And we looked at all of them. We looked at Gulp Clean CSS, ImageMin, Babel. We looked at Uglify. We did not look at 5 and 6. And those were my challenges to you for the weekend. Okay. Can you figure out how to use these things? Can you get it to work on your own? So let's take a look at the sample project that I wanted you to clone. And lo and behold, it is the pig game. Okay, so we're going to clone that. So we'll come on over here and we'll head on out maps and git clone, and we'll clone this. Great. Okay, so now automation pig game. And you'll notice that everything's already set up in SRC. Okay. And our goal was to print it out, was to output everything to dist. Okay, so we have our index.html here. Can reveal and explore. And you can see it kind of works. I think my program was broken to begin with. It doesn't start at 0, but it works. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add this thing. Well, first thing I need to do is I need to essentially create, I should initialize this, okay, as a new node package manager project. So I should do npm init. I pretty much want to do that anytime I'm installing any npm packages for a project, okay? So sometimes we're going to, we had already done npm install gulp-g. What does the -g do? Who can tell me what the -g does?
It's global.
It's global. This is not for a project. So if you're doing this, you don't need to worry about npm init. What I mean when I mean installing it for the project, I mean this is for specifically for the project. All these other packages that I'm going to install are specifically tailored for this project. And so that's when I would want to run npm init, because npm init will create, it will take some information about the project from me and it'll try to create this like information file, but that's more for publishing this project as a package. I don't want to publish this as a package. I want to leverage the fact that the package.json file also saves all the packages that I've installed and their versions. That's what I want to leverage. So I'm just going to do npm init. Okay, it's going to ask me some questions and it already has some reasonable defaults, which is why you can just hit enter, 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 enter. Okay, this stuff doesn't even really need to be in here.
John?
Yep.
Type it on the last line, Zoom kind of cuts it out. Does that make sense? Like it's at the bottom of my screen and it's covered.
Oh, really? You cannot see, is this okay?
Sometimes it's covered by the control bar. But
this bar here?
No, our control bar, like
yeah,
with the
we
record and mute and everything,
yeah,
we can move the
you.
mouse outside. Sorry.
Yeah. Just
Oh, can you move your bar?
no. But if you don't move your mouse for some time, it will disappear automatically, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? I can fix that. There you go. How's that? Cool. Okay. So is this okay? Yes. All right. So it creates this package.json file. Again, most of this stuff, name, version, description, main, you don't need these three. You don't need scripts right now. You don't need repository. You don't need author. You really don't need any of this at the moment. Okay. All you need is these brackets. You don't have to delete it. I'm just saying you don't really need it. It's extra. Okay. It doesn't provide any real value to you right now. Okay. You don't care about bugs. You don't have a homepage. If you did, great. Great, right? This is for publishing a package, okay? Scripts we will care about once we get to our React, okay? But other than that, most of the stuff we don't care about. Once we start installing new packages, it will create a new key and value of all the packages that we install, so it tracks it for us. So again, if you wanted to manually create a new package.json file, you can just create a file called package.json and throw in opening and closing brackets, make it seem like it's a JavaScript object, and it will work. If you don't have these, error, okay? And it will start tracking your packages that you install. It's just nice to have something that's tracking the packages that we install for us. Okay, so the first package we're going to install, we're going to install Gulp. Okay, and all of these can be using the save dev flag if you want. Save dev means it's a development dependency. It's not necessary to have for the game to run. It's necessary to have for us to run a little script on our development environment. That's it. Okay, and you can prove that because look, my game is currently running and I have no packages installed. So it's not a dependency for the game to run. Okay, so which means it's a development dependency. So save dev, and that's only so so Node knows which ones are which. It's good to have a separation. You'll see that later in your career. Why would you care about this separation? Okay, if you don't include save dev, that's fine too. Okay, but I just want you to know because you will see it. You will see save dev.
While we're waiting, I fixed the Xcode update problem. I forced erased the previous one and reinstalled. It works now.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were still having that problem.
Not still. It was like a few days ago, but I'm just bragging.
Oh no, I thought
I found out how to do it.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm actually running some tests on my Macs. I've got a couple Macs. My old Mac and my wife has the same Mac, and I find that the battery is draining quite substantially when it's closed. Like you won't use it for a couple of days. You close your laptop, you open it again a few days later, and it went from 80% to 20%. And they're only supposed to drain 1% or 2% per day. But I'm finding 10%, 15, 20% per day unused. I'm trying to figure out why. So I'm running some tests on them, reinstalling some stuff. I always find I learn a lot whenever I do stuff like that. Did you learn a lot?
Very. I searched a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always lots to learn. But now you know that's kind of going to be your go-to, right?
Yeah.
Try that out. Okay, good. I'm glad you fixed that. So we installed Gulp. Okay, and if we look at our package.json dev dependencies, okay, it installed Gulp version 4.02. This little hat, okay, that is indicating how it should match the versions. And I think that without the hat, it means exactly the version. With the hat, it means any version that's 4.0 is acceptable. So if there's a 4.03, it might install that, but not important. Okay. Okay. So we have Gulp. First thing I want to do is I want to install the new ones. Okay, I want to show you these new ones, these ones that we haven't installed yet. Okay, so the first one I want to install is Browser Sync. Okay, so if you go and you take a look at Browser Sync, Browser Sync's pretty sweet. Browser Sync. So first of all, we're going to install, we already installed Gulp, so we don't need to install Gulp again. We're just going to install Browser Sync. So first you'll need to install Browser Sync and Gulp as development dependencies. Now, we just installed Gulp, so we don't need to do this again, but we need to install Browser Sync. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this whole thing, but I'm gonna take out Gulp. Okay. If I install Gulp again, it will just take longer. Okay, and while this is going, we're going to come over here and we're going to copy and paste this sample here. Okay, we need a gulp file anyways. So let's go ahead and we're going to create a new file. Wow. Okay. We're going to paste that and we're going to take a look. Now, this is not our standard, right? We don't use var, we use const. So we're going to change that. Again, it's really important. Oh, yes. Okay, so this is very interesting. The Git repository has too many, my Git repository has too many active changes. Only a subset of Git features will be available because my node modules folder is still in there and it's tracking all of those files and there's thousands of them. Do you want to add node modules to Git ignore? This is, okay, one, this is just VS Code being kind. This is not something that you can expect from all editors, okay? I would just say yes, and it popped up my git ignore and it automatically added it for me. It saved it and it closed it. That's pretty impressive, okay? So that's pretty cool. I didn't know it did that. So again, part of this course is being able to read and interpret documentation, not just taking any sample, copying and pasting it, okay? Because again, we don't use var anymore, we use const. Now, browser sync is a little bit different. Browser sync does a create immediately after. So we're actually getting the thing and creating it, and that's okay, right? We don't necessarily need to change that. Now we have two choices. We have this or this. And I would hope that maybe you try this one to start. You don't know, right? You don't know, you try it. But there's a big fat or in there that says or. So I'm assuming that maybe you picked one or the other. Okay, or you did some more reading. Okay. Now, what does browser sync do? Well, browser sync allows you to automatically have your browser update when you make changes. Okay. How it works. Now, okay, so the other thing is too, we do not use this syntax anymore. Gulp.task. That syntax is, does this still work? Does this syntax still work? Can anyone confirm?
I don't think so. I tried that before. And it doesn't.
Yeah, this syntax doesn't work anymore. Now, instead, what we do is we do this function sync return okay, that's essentially the same thing. This way. This way. Okay, and then we say exports default browser sync. Okay, so this is the important part here. Browser sync init. This other piece, okay, gulp task, not important. Okay, that if you start looking at a lot of the documentation for all the other node packages that we've installed, they all have this gulp task. So I was hoping you'd be able to look at that and say, oh, clean CSS, gulp clean CSS, yeah, it also has that gulp task thing, and we don't use that. And ImageMin, it also has that gulp task thing, and we don't use that. What do we do instead? Oh, it doesn't have gulp task. It has something different again. Okay, what do we do instead? Well, we just have this inner part. We just have this inner part. Okay, and again, we just care about that inner part. Okay, inside of our own task. So the way Browser Sync works, how Browser Sync works is after we run this, it's going to actually, my base dir is essentially looking for the base directory that you're serving it, that you want to serve it from. So I want to serve it from source because that's where my files are located. They're all located in source. Okay. So I check it out and see it automatically loads this. Now, the really cool thing about Browser Sync is when I go and I change any of my files, okay, for example, I'm going to change my font weight to 700. As soon as I save this, this is going to update. Save. And you could, we didn't see anything. Let's change something that we could see very easily.
Try color.
I don't know if color, where's color? Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Let's make it, sorry. Let's make it red. Am I modifying? Well, I don't even know what I'm modifying here. I don't trust anything. I don't know why it's not working.
The bottom.
The bottom?
Yeah, the bottom. Go modify the bottom.
Player current label, margin bottom, 40 pixels. Okay, so it's just supposed to update automatically. I don't know why it's not. Let's take a look at this index. Let's see if this automatically updates when I change it. Save. So I have no idea what's going on. Oh, okay. So, okay. It's
working.
It's not working. That's very interesting that that's doing that. Okay. I was using it earlier and I didn't have any problems with it, but that's, I wonder if it has to do with this return. Maybe it doesn't want to be returned. I'm gonna just try that anyways. We're gonna kill that and try this. Whoa. So that's this one. Sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me for a second. So it gives you some ways to access it locally. Okay. So we can access it here. And then it should automatically just update as you save things. It's supposed to just automatically update your browser. I had tested it earlier today before I jumped on, and it was working perfectly fine. I'm not exactly sure why it's not working now. That's very interesting. I wonder if it has to do with like one of the ways that I'm doing this. I can't imagine, but try it anyways. Base dir, src. I'll try one more time and then we'll move on. Should pop it up. And typically it just watches. Yeah, interesting. There must be some sort of error happening or something that I can't see. Okay, no big deal. No big deal, not a big deal. That's what it's supposed to do. Not really sure why, but yeah, that's the deal. Okay, that's embarrassing for them that it doesn't work.
What is the other port they send you? The 3003?
Oh, so, okay, so UI. It's a stupid question. Not sure. UI external. Oh, I would have had to run it, I guess. 3003. Oh, they have like a UI. Cool. So you can do all sorts of interesting stuff. Overlay this CSS grid, add plugins, throttle your network. Oh, cool. I didn't even know all this stuff existed. Reload or inject files they change. So that's what's supposed to happen. Reload or inject files they change. So it's automatically supposed to update. But so this is just a UI. I guess you can create some stuff, serving files from here, so source, SRC is where all my files are, right? Which is why, and it's always looking for that index.html file. Okay, so it's kind of like a mini server. It's kind of like running, if you right click and you were to run, or you run, what's it called? That little server inside VS Code, live server. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just for Gulp though. Yeah. Not sure why it didn't work, but it looks like it's working, but it's not quite working. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we are going to install. What else do we need? Gulp Babel. So let's do these ones: Clean CSS and ImageMin. Those ones are really easy. So Gulp install Clean CSS. Gulp Clean CSS. Gulp image min. And let's just install those. Oh, it's not Gulp install, npm install. Something I was thinking about this weekend, we will be doing a presentation course in June. So I know I had requested that you all turn on your cameras, and for some magical reason, only 5 of you have continued to do so, and 15 of you have stopped. If you will 100% need to do presentations in June with a camera. 100% live presentations to the rest of the class. So if you don't have a camera, you got to get a camera. Okay, so you've got 3.5 weeks notice. And I would still appreciate if you turned on your camera, because I do feel like it's essential to me understanding if you are engaged and participating. Okay. Which goes a long way when things don't maybe work out in your favor with respects to marks. For example, sometimes people come to class and are sleeping in class, right? And then when they get poor marks at the end and they may not necessarily pass a course, I can say, yeah, well, it's because you're sleeping, right? But if someone's there every day and engaged and working hard and answering questions and participating, it's a lot easier for me to work with them to try to find an alternative solution if they're engaged in class. So when you don't show up and I can't see you, I can't tell if you're engaged. And so it's really hard for me to vouch for you, whether or not you're active in your learning. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask, please turn on your cameras. Thank you. Okay, so we've installed all these things. Okay, clean CSS and image min. So we're going to const image min require, and this is just repetitive, gulp image min, and same thing, const gulp, or clean CSS require gulp clean CSS. Now, these are the exact same tasks as they were before. So function minify images. I'm just going to return. Remember, it's gulp source, indicating the source where we're picking up our files, which is here, src, right? Slash CSS or images slash star, because that's where images are. Then we're going to pipe them through image min. And then we're going to pipe it into our destination, gulp.dest. And that's going to go into dist/images. So we want to set up the same sort of directory structure over there. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing for CSS, except instead of image min, it's not going to be image min. We're going to be cleaning the CSS. So these are functions. We need to invoke those functions. Okay. Right? Yeah. And we're not doing images. We're minifying, in this case, we're minifying the CSS. And so we're doing CSS, star.css, and we're moving it to CSS. Okay. In the end, we want to do, so we could do parallel, we could do series, it doesn't matter. Okay, parallel means these are not dependent on each other, no problem. So it would look like this, minify, CSS, minify, images. Okay, we save that, we run it. Typically you would want to put the watch for sync at the end because it pauses everything else. So not ideal to put it at the beginning. So this, if you're going to run this browser sync here, you want to put that at the end. Okay. I'm going to run this. And image min is not defined because I lowercased it. Okay. And there we go. You can see, okay, it finished minify CSS. It minified the images. It's running the stuff from localhost. Everything's working. Okay. And it automatically starts up our stuff. Now, I like browser sync to be served from my dist directory instead of my source directory, because dist is where all the compressed stuff is. But so I like to see when I type in stuff and I save, it automatically updates with the new stuff, and I don't. You'll see. Okay. Last two pieces are Uglify and Babel. Okay, so we're going to install gulp Babel and gulp Uglify. Now, How are we doing for time? Actually, we're a little bit tight on time. Why don't we take a 15-minute break? Okay, 10:05. Let's come back at 10:20. We'll finish up. I'll answer any questions, and then we'll look at the assignment. And then we'll be done, okay? Okay, 10:20. See you in 15. In case you're wondering. There we go. Okay, so we have Gulp Babel. So we have a choice, Babel 7 or Babel 6. As I mentioned in class on Thursday, we don't want to do this, okay, because there are some extra libraries that need to be installed. The other thing is you don't want to do both of these, otherwise you're going to run into problems, okay? So you just want to install one of them, and I would recommend Babel 7. So we're going to install Babel 7. We're going to kill this. Control C. Okay. And while this is installing, we're going to take a quick look at how this works. And it's pretty straightforward. Okay, again, we see this gulp task thing, but remember, we don't do it like that. We will be taking this. Okay, Babel. We will be making a function. Let's call this one transpile. Okay, and all we're going to be doing is this exact thing. Okay, setting our source, except we are not source app.js. We are source.js / and we can target a specific file, or we can target any JavaScript file and all JavaScript files. We are piping that into Babel, okay, with the preset. Don't worry about this preset. This is one of those things, and this is one of the challenges when I talk about thinking about and reading documentation, is that sometimes you just have to accept magic, okay? There are some times when you want to find out as much as possible, but again, those can lead to huge rabbit holes. So a preset is just saying what Babel preset we want. And you can go look at Babel, the Babel documentation, to figure out what preset is, but this is perfectly fine, okay? It mentions presets somewhere in here. Actually, in the Babel options in here. Presets. Okay. Smart Preset allows you to use the latest JavaScript without needing to micromanage which syntax transforms are needed by your target environments. This makes both your life easier and your JavaScript bundles smaller. Okay. So that's the one we're going for. And then destination is going to be dist/JS. So we're moving it into the JS directory, transpile. Okay. And that's Babel. And then next we're going to do uglify, because we want to minify our JavaScript. And this is going to be gulp uglify. I haven't installed it yet, so we're going to install that now. And if you look over here, pretty straightforward. npm install, save dev, gulp uglify. Okay, we did this on Thursday. We'll do it again. And while that's installing, we can write our task. Again, super straightforward. So again, you see this gulp task compress. Gulp, this is old gulp syntax. That's essentially what it is. It's not used anymore. So now we say function compress. We can call this anything we want, and we're doing this. Okay, if we want, but actually I'm going to attach it to this. I'm going to attach it to my Babel. So my Babel, my transpile, so I'm going to change this to transpile and compress. So I don't have to deliver, drop off change the file, place it in the directory, pick it back up, and then compress it and then put it back. So instead, I'm going to pick up the file. I'm going to put it through Babel first, and then I'm going to pipe it. And this is what we did on Thursday, pipe it through Uglify. Okay. And then drop it off at the destination. Okay. So Babel first, then Uglify. Now, not all of these tasks can be run in parallel. Okay. Some of these tasks, for example, or transpile and compress, they can actually all be run in parallel, because transpile and compress takes care of that, everything that needs to be run in order on its own, right? So we can do our JavaScript, do our images, do our minify, and run browser sync. Or we can either run them in parallel or we can run them in series, and either of them works. Okay. Actually, the last piece I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I can change browser sync to watch dist. Okay. So dist is going to do, so we're not going to run it from source anymore. We're going to run it from dist. So it's going to use our it's going to use our JavaScript and our new CSS that we compressed and minified, and those new images. It's going to use all that new stuff that's getting compressed instead of the old original stuff that we use for development. Okay, so let's try that. Now it's going to run into a little problem here. I did not return that. Okay. It did not. I forgot to run add a return. So it didn't know that this finished transpile and compress. Okay. And it runs, but I don't have an index.html file in there, right? It's automatically looking for an index.html file, because that's what web servers do. They look for index.html files by default. And I do not have an index.html file in my dist folder. If we look here and we go into the dist folder, I have 3 directories, but no index.html file. So what I would recommend doing, and which is not uncommon, is copy the HTML file over too. Not manually, but automated.
John, I had this problem and then I moved this manually.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, right? We're programmers. We want to do it automatically. And I mentioned this on Friday. If we take source and we pipe it to dest, it will automatically copy that file over. So copy HTML, go get the HTML and pipe it into dist. That's it. That will automatically copy it over. So now we minify the images, minify the CSS, compress and transpile the JavaScript, copy the HTML, and then run the website from the new directory that we created that has all these compressed stuff in. This dist directory. Okay. Let's try that. So run gulp, it does all this stuff. And where is my file? Did it copy my file? Oh, I didn't save my gulp file, of course. Okay, we have one more piece after this. We're done. And I forgot to return this, so it doesn't know that it finished. There we go. Okay. And see, so this is my minified CSS, my transpiled JavaScript. This is using all the stuff that I've already modified. My better images, okay, you can see, use strict, using var, okay, we have all that stuff. So I like doing this. So what it allows me to do, it allows me to work in source with my actual CSS and my actual JavaScript, that's ES7. I come over here and I run gulp, but I'm able to see the website as the version that would be put on the intranet, right? This is the version that would be put on the intranet. This is the version here. This is the version that I would be developing in. So this is the index.html with the full CSS, not the minified, the full JavaScript, not the minified, all the images that haven't been compressed. This is the one that I would be putting out on the internet, compressed everything, and I can test it and make sure that it's working. So I get to work in my full CSS files. I get to work in my full JavaScript files. I go and I run gulp, and then it automatically updates and puts out my compressed version so I can test it and see how my changes are reflected. Now, that may seem super annoying, right? It may seem like, oh, so I have to run gulp every time. And the answer is no. Actually, the last piece is watch tasks. So what you can do is you can tell JavaScript to watch your tasks, okay? So there's a little sample here. The Watch API uses file system watcher. It watches for changes to files that match the globs and executes the task when a change occurs. If the task doesn't async complete, it will never be run a second time. Okay, so it's saying we can set up a watch task. Okay, so if we look down here, the watch syntax looks like this. We're watching a specific directory and files, and then we run a task after one of those files changes. Which task do we want to run? Well, if we're watching CSS and a CSS file changes, we re-minify the CSS. If we want to run the JavaScript, we're re-cleaning or re-minifying, transpiling the JavaScript, okay? And it's being exported into default. So it kind of looks like this. So default can also take a function. We reviewed this already, okay? You can give it a function, or you can give it an anonymous inline function. So we're gonna watch CSS, true. When CSS changes, what do we want to do? We want to minify CSS. Okay. When JavaScript changes, what do we want to do? We want to transpile and compress. Okay. When images change, when new images arrive, so by default, it watches new files added, files removed, all those things, and change, all those things. When an image gets added, what do we want to do? We want to minify it. So just putting these in here starts watching them. It doesn't run anything yet, but it will run these when it needs to, when any files in there change. Copy HTML, we probably want to do the same thing. Watch any changes to source index.html. If you make any changes to HTML, we're going to want to copy that new version over. Okay. And then I'm actually going to put this browser sync down here inside. So actually, no, that should be fine. I want to try this. I'm still like not super happy with browser sync. And then we're going to run this inside here. Okay, so this function like this allows us to run multiple functions. So I can run my normal series that I was running before, and then I can also watch all these things. Okay, so let's take a look at how this works. Actually, I just want to see browser sync for a sec again. Just want to make sure I got the right stuff going on. Yeah. Browser sync.stream. Huh. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing one more piece. I think I'm missing this browser sync.stream. I'll take a look at that after. Okay, so we have our watches. So we're watching any of these files. If any of these files change, we run the individual tasks, but these don't execute right away, okay? They just sit there and watch. So which means we have to run them one time to start. So this is how it looks. We save the file, and we gulp. Watch is not defined. Right. It should be, sorry, gulp.watch. So starting default. Did I put them in the wrong order here? Okay, let's try to reorder these. Let's put series first, and then we'll put watch after. I don't know. It's interesting.
I was about to ask a question about related to that part. So that series, it was outside of that function exports default, but then
Yeah.
you put it in. I wanted to know why that.
That should be fine. Like, I should be able to. I would have expected I should be able to run them like that, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's try just doing it like this. I'm not super happy with this version, but we'll try it anyways. So we're going to run them individually. Minify, transpile, copy, sync. So we're going to run them all individually.
John, you should CSS and JS file and source are in folders. CSS and JS folders.
Thank you. Okay, so it's running the tasks, serving the files. Okay. So it should have ran all these. Okay, and the easiest way to check is to this dist directory. We can destroy anytime because it recreates it every time. Okay, so as long as that dist directory gets recreated, as long as things still run, which it did, browser sync connected. Okay, looks like, oh, my images did not get loaded. Interesting. Okay. Now, so let's see, dist, images, all my images are there. I don't know why they didn't get loaded. That's interesting. Got a little, failed to load the resource, back.jpg. It's there, but maybe I didn't properly update my index.html or my style.css file to work with back.jpg. Images, back.jpg. Interesting. Okay, anyways, so everything's being recreated. Everything is being compressed. We're serving from our compressed directory. Sorry, I'm looking at images, dist. Yeah, back.jpg is there. And it shows up. Interesting. Okay. What happens when we change one of our files? Because that's what the watcher does, right? The watcher should be watching these files here. If I change one of these, it should automatically run whatever associated task. So if I change a CSS file, enter, save. It automatically ran Minify CSS. Okay. Now, if I change this images location, save. Okay. Now, I was hoping Browser Sync would have picked that up, but it doesn't seem to. Again, I'm having problems with some Browser Sync stuff that I need to figure out. That's fine. Okay. Then you can see that it recompiled that, where is it? It recompiled again minify.css. So any files, it's watching these files, and whenever any of these files change, any of the files that I stated here, it reruns the associated task. Okay, so now I don't have to do anything. I can work in my style.css, index.html, all in my source directory. They will automatically get compiled and printed out and copied over to my dist directory and then served up in my browser. Okay, automatically. I don't have to do anything. I can just work in my stuff as normal. Okay, I don't need to run gulp anymore because gulp is just sitting in the background running and watching and converting those things as they change. And this is a representation. Oops. This is a representation of that page, okay, of the updated page. Save. And again, I'm having problems with Browser Sync. I don't know what's going on. I think it has to do with me streaming. I vaguely remember using Browser Sync stream at some point. I'm curious if I can just toss that in there. See if that works. Any changes should automatically get reflected here. So if I change my image, this is the wrong project. This is also the wrong project. I have too many things open here. That's fine. Other than that, everything else is working. Okay. And there you go. This is everything. This is everything that I would expect you to be able to do for the assignment coming up. Okay. Now, if you can't get browser sync working, that's fine, as long as it pops up the browser. I'm going to try to figure out why it's not working properly, because this morning it was. I want to know what I'm doing differently. But it should automatically be syncing stuff. So the new stuff that we're looking at is watch, sync, and copy HTML over. Okay, again, this is very prescriptive, right? You're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again. You're just going to be changing the locations of your files, the names of the functions maybe. Okay, not really anything else. Any questions? Nothing? So everyone's good?
I've got some nitpick questions, but not for now. So
Some nitpick questions.
yes, some things that you previously already stated that you don't need to understand every single digit, just except for some part. Yeah. So
But you have questions about it.
yeah, but not now. I think I'm gonna waste a lot of people's time, so I'm just gonna
Okay.
sit
Sounds
with it
good.
for a while. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's take a look at the next assignment then. Okay. So obviously these assignments are tied together. So we're going to head on over to here. And we'll show. All right, so you are going to be building a weather widget. Okay. First thing you're going to need to do, you're going to need to create an account at Open Weather Map. Open Weather Map. Okay. So they have a free API that you can access. Okay, so you'll need to create an account there, get your API key, okay, figure out how to use it. We would be building a weather widget that will use the Navigator geolocation API to determine the user's current location, use that location to obtain the current weather and a 5-day forecast for the region. I have provided the HTML and CSS for you, so you can go ahead and download that. To complete this task, you will need to utilize 2 different API endpoints, current weather data and 5-day 3-hour forecast. Okay? With the free account, we only get certain endpoints that we're allowed to access, but we are allowed to access current weather data and 5-day 3-hour forecast. Current weather is right now. 5-day is forecasted. You will also need to use the icons provided by the API. You can read more about it here. Okay, here are the icons. Here is some information about the icons. Okay, so I want you to try to figure that out. Couple things to note. The forecast is provided in 3-hour blocks, which means you will receive 8 different temperature forecasts for that day. So you are getting a 5-day 3-hour forecast. So every day has 8 different forecasts. So here's what it's going to be like at midnight. Here's what it's going to be like at 3 a.m. Here's what it's going to be like at 6 a.m. How do you figure out the high and the low for a given day if you're given the temperature every 3 hours? So you're not given, in this 5-day forecast, you are not given a high and a low. You are given a high and a low at midnight, and then another high and a low at 3 a.m. for 3 a.m. How can you figure out the high and the low for the entire day? This is actually a question.
Maybe put all of those temperatures each in an array and
Mhm.
find the largest number. Is it?
Okay, so the answer
the average.
isn't
Sort.
no, not the average, because the average is not the highest and the lowest. And so one thing that you need to try to separate sometimes is the idea of code and process, right? So Saria, what you just said, put them all in an array and then determine. Try to think about your problems not in a programming sense. So, right, don't think about the array, the problems, the solution you had. Find the highest, find the lowest, right? It's not so much about putting them in an array, because you can put them in all sorts of things. And if you say put them in an array and do this, now you're almost like committing to that. You want to be open to being able to solve this however you need. The goal is find the highest, find the lowest, right? That's the goal. So try to separate, when you're problem solving, try to separate the programming from the problem if you can, okay? Determine what you need to do first to solve the problem, then the programming should come after that. So yes, every day is going to have 8 highs and 8 lows. Find the highest high and the lowest low. Okay. Now, finally, we also have a current condition. I thought I have a sample for this. I'm pretty sure I do. I thought I had like a MIT weather app dot. MIT weather.web.app. No, give me 1 sec. I thought I had a sample to show you. I do have a sample to show you. Just got to find it. Okay, here is what you're going to be producing. So, current conditions with your information. And when you get the HTML, it's going to look exactly like this, except it's going to have the forecast from yesterday, from last week, because that's when I took the snapshot. But this is a live one. Now, one of the other challenges is this current condition for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the word broken clouds and the actual determination of this, and this is very interesting because I never thought about this. All of our weather apps have this, right? If you go and you open a weather app and you look at Thursday, it'll have a picture of a sun. So I'm going to look at my weather app and it says on Thursday, it's partly cloudy, high of 26 and low of 17. But Thursday, partly cloudy. What time is that at? Is 8 a.m. going to be the same as 10 p.m.? And the answer is no. They have to take some sort of measurement at some point in the day. So the one measurement that you're going to find is the one at noon. Whatever they say for the temperature forecast or the forecast, the climate forecast at noon, that is going to be the one that you're printing out. Okay, so since you're given 3-hour blocks, you're going to get all at night, it's almost always going to be clear, 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 clear. And then during the day, sometimes it might be rainy in the morning, it might be sunny in the evening. The only one you care about is noon, because there's no possible way to average out weather forecasts. You can't add cloudy plus rain, divide by 2, and get partially rainy. Right? It doesn't work like that. We don't have, at least we don't have a formula for that. If you want to create your own formula and present it to me and demonstrate why you use that, that's fine. But you can just use noon. Okay.
So it's gonna be 12 o'clock, right?
noon, 12 o'clock. Yeah. So you're going to get a midnight or 0 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3, 6, 9, 12 again. Okay. So you're essentially getting 3-hour little forecasts for the next 5 days. So 8 times 5, 40. You're going to get 40 little forecasts. Okay. So you're going to have to, so some stuff you're going to have to deal with. Date, time, right? You're going to need to figure out, I have 40 forecasts. What is my current day? What is the next day? What is the next day after that? Which of these fit into which boxes, right? If I'm looking at one of my 40 forecasts, which day is this for? Is it for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? What day am I on right now? I'm on Tuesday. Does it say Tuesday in here? No, right? It says Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to have to figure that out. I don't want these to be hard-coded, right? I don't want this to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday all the time. This should be, this is Tuesday. This is the next 5 days. Okay. One little thing, all weather is provided in Kelvin by default. Not sure why. You're going to have to tell it which units. So again, this is all through the API. Okay, so there's some problem solving that you need to figure out here. So I'm just going to add a little piece onto here to make sure that your output should indicate the current conditions as today, and the forecast as the next five days, which means you will need to determine the name of the day, i.e. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, correctly. Okay, so you're going to need to determine those correctly. If we go over here. Okay, so you need to figure this out. You're going to need to figure out what day is it today, what day is it tomorrow. JavaScript date object, it's got all that information, probably an array. Just like that month thing, right? We did some month thing earlier, okay? 100% of this is all stuff we've already done, just a different application. Even the figuring out the highs and the lows, figuring out which day it is and how to do, we've done all of this already. Two times. It's the same as the word count that we did, or the same as the movie thing that we did. Principle is the same, okay? Again, you're gonna see that a lot in programming. A lot of the problems reappear, okay? And they're a little bit different, but they're very similar. So small changes, okay? So that's what we're doing here. Now, on the other end, so actually, before we move on, any questions on this?
John, do we have to use a latitude and longitude for that, or just the city name?
You're going to want to use latitude and longitude, right? Because your geolocation that you get from the browser when it pops up is going to give you latitude and longitude, right? You're not going to get city name. So if you hard code in Winnipeg, you're missing this piece, which is use Navigator geolocation API to determine the user's location. If you're not doing this, you're losing points, right?
And in that working copy, there is a high and low. The two are in Celsius, like a high and low, like 25 degrees and 14 degrees. Is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So in the copy you get, it'll look exactly like this. It just won't be working. So it'll probably say Thursday because it's not actively generating the days, right? it was a screenshot, not a screenshot, but like essentially a snapshot that I took on whenever I made this. Any other questions? So we're looking at a due date of Thursday morning. Okay. I will hold lecture tomorrow morning to just pop in, answer any questions, pat you on the back, tell you everything's going to be okay. Okay, that kind of stuff. But like, it's not going to be a long thing. I recommend you attend. Last time I answered some great questions, or some really great questions, helped a lot of people along the way. Tomorrow will not be a recorded lecture though. So, okay. All right, so let's take a look at the other half of the assignment. So tools and automation, you're pretty much going to be doing the exact same thing that we've already been doing. Make available. Show topic. All right, assignment 2. So again, broken down, it looks like it's a bunch of steps, but it's not. Set up your application so that way. So I'm asking you to create a structure for this application. Source, CSS, JS folders, just like we've done in the last one. Okay. GitHub repository, make the repository private, add me and Zach. Have at least 10 commits. Okay, 10 commits. Because you're going to be doing all this gulp stuff, those can be individually committed. So it might seem like a lot more, but it's actually only 2 more, but you're doing gulp things, okay? Each commit should be thoughtful, create and check out 2 merge branches, add the gulp module. So these don't have to be done in order. These just have to be all the things that you do. Gulp clean CSS, Babel, Uglify, browser sync, gulp watch, ignore your modules, create a default task, and push everything to your GitHub repository no later than 8:45 a.m. So just do all your Git stuff and do everything that we did today except for image min. Rewatch today's episode, okay? Like, that's pretty much all you have to do. Rewatch today's episode. Oh, by the way, I will push the solution for the gulp stuff. I'll add that to
and do I have to just push the source in the GitHub?
Oh, technically, yes. Technically, yes. It doesn't matter. You don't have to ignore dist, but you could. I would push both. Push both.
Okay.
Yeah, just push everything. Just ignore node modules. Yeah. Any questions here? And they're all broken down by points. But at the end of the day, if I feel like anything is unfair in terms of the points, like there is a certain amount of flexibility here for like, did you transpile? Well, like, does it work? Yes. Did you create it? Yes. Like, there's flexibility within all these points too. So it's not an all or nothing thing. Okay. But I do like to try to break it down because just to give you a sense of how much everything is worth. So here's your other half of the assignment. And you will be submitting the URL to me. So online text, not a file. Word limit, no word limit. So just submit the GitHub URL to me. Okay. I'll just push that, put that at the end. Yeah, you should paste the URL here. Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. All right, there you go. So Thursday, we're coming back. We're going to review this. I'm going to give you your final project. You're going to have the rest of the day and some of the weekend to work on your final project, and we're done. Then we're moving on to React. So this week is pretty much just assignment project. Think of this, again, why are we doing back-to-back assignment project? Think of this as a good opportunity to raise your mark or to practice in a safety net. Okay, there's lots of great reasons why we're not putting 100% of the value on one thing. Now we get to split it up a little bit on this assignment, a little bit on the final project. But a lot of it is just going to be practice. A lot of it's just going to be the same thing. Not a lot new. Okay. Again, obviously you can reach out to me and Zach if you have any questions. But other than that, we're good to go.
One
John.
question, John. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think Kevin's asking the same question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask on assignment number 2 for SD 140.
Mm-hmm.
There's a portion that says that we can work together to complete this task. What is that referring to?
Really?
Yeah.
Oops. No, sorry. I'm taking that out. This was originally, so actually, this was originally going to be, I need to set the date too. Deadline is Thursday, the 21st. It was originally going to be just an exercise, and the map thing that we just finished doing was going to be the assignment. And then I looked at the two and I said, that map thing is way too hard. So I'd rather you guys do the map thing as an exercise with no, so it's not worth any marks. And then this one will be the assignment. Yeah. So no, you're not allowed to work together. Thank you. I just pulled that out.
And we're not adding you and Zach to edit, or?
Yeah, you are, but that's that's for the other one.
So
yeah, you are adding me and Zach to it. Make it private. You're not allowed to make it public, right? Don't make it public. Make it private. You get points for making it private. So this assignment, which you're doing them together, right? I'm asking you to apply this to assignment 2 in SD 140. Add Zach and me as collaborators. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that info, Kevin. That would have been a disaster.
I was looking forward to a group project.
It's really hard for me to do a group project.
Yeah.
Because I've been in, I still remember this. I've been in groups where I've been totally carried, and I never should have passed that course.
Yeah.
And I did. And I want to do, I would totally, but the other thing is it's really hard to do group projects because we're all on Zoom, and I know that a lot of you are not going to work together.
Yeah.
If we're in class, it'd be different.
I actually really did want to just kind of have maybe a small group project where we could actually work on everybody does a small portion. We actually push it to Git, and just kind of a more real life scenario like that.
You will in the back end, you will have group projects.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. All right. So rest of the day today, a little bit this evening, all day tomorrow, a little bit tomorrow evening. It's got a couple little tricky points, but most of it should be pretty straightforward. Okay. Familiarize yourself with the data. You know that one of the trickiest points is going through the data itself, because there's going to be objects inside of arrays, inside objects. So figure that stuff out. All right. Again, shoot me a message if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:45. Okay. Have a great lunch and a good afternoon. See you later.